outside source. Energy flows from the sun into the biosphere, but nutrients do not enter the biosphere from an outside source. Essentially, the same pool of nutrients has circulated for the billions of years that the Earth has been in existence. Some nutrients, called macronutrients, are used by organisms in large quantities, while others, micronutrients, are used only in trace quantities. Macronutrients include carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and phosphorus. Micronutrients include iodine, iron, zinc, and some others. Both macronutrients and micronutrients are recycled. They are passed back and forth between living and non-living components of the ecosystem in a process that we call biogeochemical cycles. This picture traces the pathway of carbon through biogeochemical cycles. The prime focus of this picture is on the arrows that show how carbon travels among components of the biosphere. Material substances are incorporated into organic compounds by primary producers. Primary producers are then consumed by consumers. And decomposers are ultimately responsible for releasing the material back into the non-living environment. We will begin our study of the carbon cycle with the atmosphere. Which is Earth's major reservoir of carbon in the form of carbon dioxide. Carbon enters the biotic or living part of the ecosystem through photosynthesis. Plants of the forest take the carbon in carbon dioxide and fix it into organic compounds such as glucose, starch, cellulose, and other carbohydrates. Respiration in plants returns the carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. We've seen how carbon enters the cycle of living things through photosynthesis, and we will now see how it passes through various life forms. Plants are primary producers. In the course of plant consumption, carbon passes into primary consumers, animals for this example. When animal consumption occurs, or when the primary consumer is eaten, carbon passes to a secondary consumer, represented by the lion in the picture. Respiration takes place in the cells of the primary and secondary consumers, and carbon is released back into the environment as carbon dioxide. When the primary and secondary consumers die, their organic matter enters the soil through a process known as decay. It is broken down by the decomposers, or the detritus feeders, which are small animals and microorganisms that subsist on decaying matter such as fallen trees, dead bodies, and animal waste. Earthworms, mites, centipedes, insects, and crustaceans are all detritus feeders. Thus, respiration in detritus feeders also returns carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. We've seen how carbon dioxide cycles through various living things on Earth. We will now turn to a storage process for carbon dioxide in soil. Throughout history, much carbon has been converted to fossil fuels. High pressure and temperature transform carbon-containing organic matter into coal, oil, and natural gas. Fossil fuel processing follows. There are many uses for fossil fuels. Some power plants generate electricity using fossil fuels, and automobiles are powered by gasoline. The products of combustion of fossil fuels include carbon dioxide and other carbon compounds. These then enter the atmosphere. This is a man-made contribution to the carbon cycle and not a part of the natural process. Carbon also enters the environment from the burning of wood and plants that occur during forest fires. One final aspect of the carbon cycle that we will examine is the exchange with the oceans. Some carbon dioxide from the air dissolves in oceans and combines with calcium to form calcium carbonate, which is incorporated into the shells of mollusks and other creatures. When these shells decay, they transform into limestone, which over time dissolves as it is exposed to water. Carbon is released from the limestone and may return to the atmosphere.